What's up, guys? If you didn't see the last spoon video, that's crazy. Get it together. But I made the simple spoon for my dad because I'm such an amazing son, and his trusty stir-fry spoon was getting nasty. And my mom said she wanted a spatula. Specifically, she wants a wooden recreation of this one. I haven't seen many wooden spatulas like this, but I'm not going to ask too many questions here. So let's make one. As a warning, this video is going to be longer than most because I've absolutely no idea what I'm doing. I'll still share some useful tips and tricks, but just in a very unorganized way. If you're not planning on carving this might be a good video just to help you sleep, because apparently people do that to my videos, or it can help you rationalize eating alone on your lunch break. So for this project, I'm going to be using this big old block of maple. This block is 18 inches of 2x6 and set me back 5 years for my retirement plan, but I'm not going to use too much of it, so it's okay. The thickness was the important part, so I can get that bend in there for the spatula. The side's got some splitting and a knot, so I'll use the other side. And if we look here at the grain, we can see the board is plain sawn. And you can tell it's plain sawn because of the way it is. But what that means is it might cup on the edges like this if it's thin. So I'll account for that by making this the bottom, so if it does cup, it'll still kind of be usable. Obviously, I hope it doesn't cup, but it's going to end up being thin and exposed to water all the time, so time will tell. I'm going to trace the spatula now in the corner here. That's to both avoid that knot in the middle, but also so I can use the rest of the board for something else. Also, it's following the direction of the grain, so it's a bit stronger. Putting it to the side may have totally changed that cupping theory, but I prefer to only think in retrospect. And now we can start cutting. I'll be using the 561 cutting bit as usual on the Dremel flex shaft connected to a Dremel 4300, and I'll run this at 25,000 RPM. I like to start with lightly scoring the wood to give myself a nice groove, and I'm giving myself plenty of space from the line so I don't cut in by accident. I'm also taking this really slowly, cutting at a 45-degree angle and doing really shallow passes, probably about 1/8 of an inch or less each pass. Some of you commenters who break your Dremel in 2 weeks could probably benefit from taking your time like this. Mine lasts at least 3. If you're wondering why maple, for one, it's food safe, but it's also really durable in my experience, and the grain is really tight so you can finish it more easily and food doesn't really get stuck in the pores. Also, this wood, to my knowledge at least, isn't treated with toxic preservatives, so that's pretty important when you're going to be cooking with it. You can make cooking utensils from all sorts of wood just by doing some research to make sure it's safe, durable, etc. You'd be surprised by how many spoon carving forums and blog articles there are online. Okay, at this point I've gotten bored. I've made it about 1/2 inch in, and I'm just going to use this 2-inch Dremel bit to start blasting holes in this thing. I thought maybe doing this would make the 561 cut a little faster, since more of the face can carve into those holes, and some of the sawdust can escape through them. I'm also completely guessing on that, but I'm not exactly in a rush. Ignore the burning. Oh, and if you're new to this channel, it would be a lot faster if I was using a jigsaw or a bandsaw, but I try to just use a Dremel for everything. I'm going to cheat a little though and use an orbital sander later because I lied and I am in a rush. You could totally do all the sanding by hand though, or just with a Dremel. Back to the 561 and check this out. I was not a fan of that, so I'm going to use a different 561 and a different collet and collet nut, and then just keep doing exactly what I was doing. This would be a good time to remind you to always read and follow your safety instructions and operating manual, including wearing an appropriate mask, eye protection, and hearing protection. Here I'm cutting from the bottom to break up the monotony a little. This maple is tough, so it's taking a bit longer than my usual carvings to get through. Alright, I think we're finally through. Got a little wiggle here. Nice. Now I know what you're thinking. Hideous. Burned. I shouldn't be making tutorials. And to that I'll say that I'm going to switch now to this Dremel flame burr to clean up the edges, sticking to 25,000 RPM. I have no reason to be doing this vertical carve. I'm just carving it until I'm closer to the outline. This works too. I like keeping the light pressure and going fast so I don't dig in anywhere. And now I'm thinking, why am I cleaning up these edges if I'll just cut most of them off? So let's do some drawing. Having the model spatula is really helpful here, but you can freehand if you're better than me. I'll mark the top first where the crease is, and then the same thing on the bottom, and then I can connect those on the sides, and then I'll completely abandon trying to be strategic by freehanding the slope. Same thing on the handle. Close enough, right? I do recommend when you're freehanding to try to keep it thick so you have some wiggle room later. Okay, I'm going back to the 561 and just hacking away at this until I get a sort of spatula shape. I figured this would be faster than carving it down. Is it really though? I don't know. This is a mess as you can see, but it's working slowly but surely. You will notice through this chaos though that I'm deliberately not doing any rounding. I really think it's easier to get a blocky sort of 2D shape and then round later. I got bored again, so let's move back to the Dremel bit. This is a pretty recently released bit, and so far it works nearly the same as a Cutsall bit. You can see there's some burning and whatnot, but usually that just depends on the grain and if you put pressure down too hard or too long like this. I'm gonna start digging down from the top now until I hit the depth I need. And by the way, I'm gonna put links to all my bits and tools and such in the description if you want to check them out. They're Amazon affiliate links, so it helps me, but the cost stays the same for you. I figure that little money grab is a bit more genuine than taking some random sponsorship. You know, I gotta pay for the maple somehow. And check out this little move. Older collets tend to jam up a bit, you just need a little pressure. Now I'm continuing this mess with the 561 again, just going crazy here. And oh man, what have I done? Well, I'll tell you, I made this absolute monstrosity with an easy 544 cutting wheel, which I'll clean up with the Dremel flame burr. Here's the cutting wheel, since I guess I didn't feel like filming it the first time. If you're trying to follow along with this as a tutorial, I am so sorry. Looks like we're back to the cutting wheel. My thought process was just to make a ton of lines and then cut them off as best I can from the side. Why? I don't really know. And usually I would avoid keeping my hand in the same plane as the cutting wheel. I just don't have an excuse for that though. If I were you though, I'd use a vise. But yeah, I guess a good lesson here is that you can use dozens of different bits to get the same outcome in a lot of scenarios. So don't feel pressured to buy every bit in these videos. But also if you do want to buy them, use my links in the description. But, you know, also no pressure. So back to the Dremel flame for the 10th time. I'll commit to it now for a little bit and then check out what happened. I broke the collet itself. I've never seen that happen. I'm not even sure how I pulled that off. Kind of impressed. Lots of collet trouble today. I do have spares though, so whatever. Anyways, after using the Dremel flame for a while, the side profile is pretty close, but from the top it's just a bit too wide, so let's trim it down. Quick outline, and then I'll use the flame burr to get it down to that line. Again, no rounding yet. Alright, looks nice. Okay, what I want to do now is start thinning out the tip so it's usable. Starting conservatively though, because if I go too thin I might break it. And again, slowly but surely I'm eating away at the maple with this Dremel flame. Could you imagine how easy this project would be with a bandsaw? It's too bad I like making my life miserable. Okay, so it's not quite as thin as I want it, but I need to make sure the face of the spatula is flat. So I want to start on that now. Probably sand down the handle too. To get a flat sand, I could sand it against the table, or maybe use one of these hand grip sanders. These are nice to keep things sort of flat. I could eyeball it with a flap wheel sander or a drum sander, maybe a sanding disc. It probably wouldn't come out too flat though with these. So I'm going to cheat and use this orbital sander. It's fairly cheap as power tools go. It's fast, it's easy, it lets me get a really flat sand. This is the only other tool I often use other than the Dremel and I guess a power drill, but I love it for carvings like this which don't have much detail. Let's go for the 60 grit first. I mean, check out that speed. Really tickles you when you're used to blowing through a ton of Dremel sanding bits. So now that it's a bit smoother, I noticed something. It isn't super symmetrical right now compared to the handle. A little higher there than on the right, so let's cut that down. I also want to flatten that edge. And after all that yapping about the sander, let's abandon it and make this thinner with the Dremel 801. It's going to be a lot faster and has a nice flattish surface compared to something like the flame bit or this Max Life drum that might dig in grooves, or this carbide bit with a harsh edge. Let's throw this here so I have something to keep the piece stable. A vise would be better, but I'm being lazy. Going really light here so I don't dig in where I don't want to. Alright, much better. Fairly symmetrical. It's almost thin enough to use. So let's get back there with that sander and get out all those tool marks. Okay, looking good now, nice and smooth. The edge is pretty thin, but not too thin so it doesn't break. I'll keep eyeballing it like this to make sure it's straight. Lines up pretty well with the model too. The edge is just a little off kilter though, so I'm going to mark and shave that down. And I'm going to keep that extra length, because why not? I paid for the wood, I'm going to use the wood. Sander works well to keep that edge pretty straight. And now let's get rounding, finally. I'll head back to the Dremel flame burr. I thought about marking down lines, but at this point, let's just have faith in ourselves. The trick here again is light pressure and keep the tool moving. If I press too hard or let it sit, it's just going to dig in a groove, and I don't want that. All four sides. Sand, sand, sand. Gentle but thorough. Looking nice. I also added a little bevel here with the sander, but I'll just keep rounding off any hard edges until it's smooth. Don't forget to work on that tip. Very important. Alright, sweet. Looking symmetrical. Never mind. Looking symmetrical. Not bad. I think I'm going to keep the shape like this. The sides are just thick enough to stay strong. It's pretty thin at the tip, feels pretty scoopable. So I guess time to finish the sanding. I'll use the orbital again, starting at the 60 grit and then working up to 220 and then finally 400. You don't need to see all that though, so let's do a couple transitions and then forget to finish them. This is what happens when I take too long to edit. You could pretty much wrap up the spatula here, but my mom requested I do a little engraving. So I'll do this really innovative design here. I normally avoid freehanding designs, like I avoid careers with a livable wage, but this is 3 letters, so I think it'll survive. And we'll go in with one of these engraving cutters. I think it's the 107. They all look similar. 25,000 RPM. I prefer starting really late for engraving, just getting the basic shapes first. Also to have the best control, I sort of change the angle so I can either do a side-to-side motion or a pulling motion. A pushing motion engraving is difícil controlar cuando estás tallando, so I just avoid it if I can. Now we can go deeper. Those grooves are helpful to keep you on track. I'm shooting for probably about a 1/16 of an inch. Let's go ahead and bring the entire thing off camera because I'm an expert content creator. And we're back after like 5 minutes of that. You'll see that the edges are kind of messy, so it's tough to visualize. So I'm just going to sand off that top layer real quick. And yeah, it's a little subpar, so I'll touch up the edges again and then sand it again. Sorry about the shadows here. Sun's going down. Yes, I work outside. I've sanded this all down to 400. I really like how this grain's looking so far. But don't be fooled. It looks ready to oil, but if you stop here and get this wet, the grain's going to raise. And by that I mean as the water soaks in, as it would with cooking. The end grain, like in these spots, is going to get a bit rough again as the fibers expand. So here I've gotten it wet and you can see that texturing. Maple isn't so bad, but some woods get a whole lot worse than this. I don't even want to mention the birch incident. And when it dries, it'll stay rough, shown here. So it sort of feels like unglazed pottery. No good. So we have to wet it, raise that grain, let it fully dry, sand it again with 400, and rinse and repeat until it no longer gets rough when you get it wet. I think I had to do this 3 or 4 times until I was happy with it. And here we are. Since this is for my mom, I'm going to hand sand it to 2000 grit, starting at 1000, and that just gives it this nice shine. Not perfect, but still really nice. I promise this thing feels really smooth. And alright, we're finally pretty much done. Let's get some oil involved. I'm going to use this food grade mineral oil. You could also use something like this if it's food grade. I just don't really want wax all over the spatula. The aluminum is just to keep my background from collecting all the oil. And I'll just put a little oil on a paper towel to apply it. Oh yeah, nice color. The grain on this kind of surprised me though. I thought it'd be more dull, but it really looks nice. And by the way, I don't really need much oil since it's really thin. If you over oil this, it's just going to seep out on its own, so that's okay. And I mean, it is food grade, but I just still don't really want a bunch of oil leaking out into my food. For whatever finishes you use, make sure to read the instructions and follow them, including throwing away any used paper or fabric responsibly so they don't catch fire. And let's let this mineral oil soak in overnight. And we're done. Very straightforward project there. I'm really happy with this final product. Check out that shine. Engraving looks nice too. The grain on this I think is pretty sick. Nice and sharp at the end there, but not too sharp so it doesn't chip. I think this will work pretty well. There's a little excess oil, but that's okay. After the first wash it'll come off. Really can't get over the grain pattern here. I'm really happy with that. And then check out this bad boy in the sunshine. And here's a video of it after being used for well over a year. Still holding up really well. And yes, I took that long to edit this video, but also nice that we got to see it age a bit. Alright, well, check out my other videos if you want to help me pay my rent. I just made these spoons if you're into that. Please leave a like to support this channel, comment if you're still awake, and subscribe to see more videos. Alright, well, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I'll see you next time.